price cut on all Tesla Model Y trims, the analysts are again sounding the alarm, saying that Tesla just doesn't understand. Price cuts are permanent hits to earnings. Why can't they just listen to us? We know how to run the business better. Today we'll have Jeff Lutz, an executive with experience running manufacturing and product rollouts, and several Fortune 100 companies explain this math and shows us if you can combine all the moves Tesla has been making, not just knee-jerk reactions and cuts, then you'll see a better picture emerge. We'll also cover the changes to Tesla's referral program and the reduction of full self-driving from now just $8,000. Welcome, Jeff.
Yeah, great to be with you, Robert. I will break all of this down into manageable, understandable chunks and not sound bites that just fit into 160 character tweets to try to get some sort of message. So hopefully I'll be able to break this down for everyone in an understandable way.
No, thank you so much, Jeff. I mean, your experience, obviously you've run manufacturing firms, you've done product rollouts, you know how these price changes, you've done it in the past for other industries, and then yet you've got these analysts who have literally knee-jerk reactions and they don't do the math, and you're going to show exactly what's actually happening. And it's not so you can't just listen to the analysts, listen to somebody who actually has run the business before. So let's report what's happened. A couple days ago, Tesla announced that they dropped Model Y trim prices in the US by $2,000. This is now from $44,990 for the rear-wheel drive to $42,000. They did it for all of the Model Y trims. So Elon posted this, which is if you take into consideration the tax credit plus the estimated gas savings, you could take that number down to $29,000 for a Model Y. Now, you might say, hey, it's not fair to take the gas savings, but certainly the tax credit absolutely applies. And so now you're talking about a Model Y that can be under $35,000. This is the mythical $35,000 that we had in the past. So this is just another way to show this, that the Model Y rear-wheel drive is $29,000, the Model Y long range is $35,000, and so forth. That's if you take into consideration tax credit and gas savings. Now, we got Gary Black, of course, just reacting to this, and he says, we have cut our Tesla earnings estimates and price targets to reflect this weekend's Tesla price cuts in the US and China. We see little or no volume growth as a result of price cuts consistent with last year's experience. As competitors match Tesla's price cuts, we expect Wall Street analysts who follow Tesla to do the same tonight and tomorrow. So I've got to show a little bit of your reaction, your reply, and all that, but did you want to make a comment on this first?
Yeah, first off, I respect Gary, especially for his understanding of Wall Street and how they look at information. And one of the things I see that's missing in some of the analyst community is really analyzing the supply side or COGS side of it, but this doesn't even get into that. This is honestly understanding the difference between MSRP, manufacturer suggested retail price, which is what you see in all of the tweets and what you see on the Tesla website, and the difference between average selling price or net average selling price, ASP. And there's a big difference between the two. MSRP sits on top in unit economics. It's the top line of pricing, but between those lines are things like inventory discounts, insurance discounts, delivery discounts, anything related to remorse or kind of conditioning of the vehicle to bring it back for sale. All those things are included between ASP and MSRP, but what gross margins are calculated off of is the actual net transaction price of where the vehicle is sold. I think it's really important to walk through the difference between those two and to really understand what's net happening to Tesla pricing.
Yeah, thank you for that. That is hard. So everybody just takes the MSRP and they reduce it. Now I'm going to go ahead and calculate in perpetuity the impact to earnings. And you're saying, hey, you got to look at the ASP, and there's a lot of things that are moving there. Don't just take knee-jerk reaction to that. And the other thing that they're not considering is that, Tesla raised prices. Model Y in March 1st, they raised the price by another $1,000 in April 1st, and now April 19th, they reduced it by $2,000. So these analysts, when they raise prices, they don't come out and go, now I'm going to raise my earnings. So let's explain a little bit more what's happening here. This is Elon's reaction, not to Gary's tweet, but to other people. And he said, other automakers change prices constantly and often by wide margins because of the dealer markups and manufacturer dealer incentives. Only a fool thinks that the MSRP is the real price. Tesla prices must change frequently in order to match production with demand. And you've been saying this for a long time, and you shared this graph with me. Can you explain to me what I'm looking at?
And Elon summarized my opening intro in a few sentences very well, including the only a fool thinks MSRP is what it will sell for. So this is from a company called Cox Automotive, who is widely looked at as one of the best analysts in the auto industry today, and they're widely cited by many analysts. And what this graph represents, this isn't the standard legacy auto network, which includes EV as well, so non-Tesla. And basically what they're looking at is the spread to invoice and the actual average transaction price. That's the orange line. And then the incentives that are actually as a percent of that average transaction price that happen at the dealer side. And when you see that spread is very wide, that means the transaction prices are high, incentives are low. And that usually happens when demand is high, supply is low. Basically, there's good supply-demand balance, or there's actually an imbalance where you don't have enough supply, and you've got more demand, and so you don't need the incentives. The blue line can be at its lowest point, and the orange line, which is the highest transaction price, can be its highest point. When the two start to converge, that means you've got potentially an oversupply situation, and you've got a consumer problem where they're just not buying as many cars as they used to, and they're starting to converge. This is the data at the end of Q4. They'll refresh this, with the end of Q1, but these things you can see they're on a track to converge, where transaction prices are coming down and incentives are coming up, and that's what Elon is saying in their tweet. That's what I've been saying in multiple messages as well, because some analysts are stating like Tesla has to do this and nobody else is doing it. Look, GM is up 7% year on year. I think Ford and GM were up single digits in sales year on year. But when you actually go and look at their net inventory, their net inventory is up almost 40% year on year. So if your sales or units are up single digits and your inventory is up 40%, and you get credited for shipping a car from your factory to the dealer network, that means all you did was net add vehicles to dealer inventory. You didn't net sell more vehicles to consumers. So actually, if you look at it as a net sale to consumers, GM and Ford they're also in a decline as well. We can look at other automakers. Some are doing better than others, but to say like Tesla's alone in having kind of a Q4 to Q1 challenge that's the wrong bit of feedback. And the top two, I don't know if we put this chart in here, but the top two China automakers, BYD's down 43%. Q4 to Q1, and Li Auto just posted they're down 31% Q4 to Q1. And why is that interesting? Well, you can look and see they're up Q1 from last year to this year. Well, they're growing they're growing their newer business, and they're growing. But if you look at their Q4 to Q1 from 22 to 23, they just grew right through it. There was no seasonality. So there's definitely something going on. There's definitely something where you have to react to what's going on in macro auto. You just can't sit there and say, I'm going to sell Tesla Model 3s and Ys for $55,000 to $80,000 and think, if I run ads like they're going to sell, that's not going to work either.
No, thank you for that. So other car makers, like you said, yeah, I don't have it ready with me, but the BYD fell significantly, 43% from Q4 to Q1, and then, like you said this morning, the auto just also are going to do price cuts. But the
And by the way, just sorry, Herbert. Just one. I'm sorry, Herbert, to interrupt. This doesn't remove Tesla as having its own individual. We're not saying that Tesla itself doesn't have a problem or doesn't have challenges, but it's important to understand what's happening at other automakers and at macro auto, and that's why we showed that average transaction price view. That's why we talked about some of the top two in China. Because if you don't understand what's going on, then you may not understand what actions Tesla is taking themselves. Sorry.
Absolutely. And then it's not as dire as it might look like for Tesla. Let's take a look at what that is. So you did this fantastic kind of analysis. You actually did the math and you're explaining what happened here. So you start off by saying, if you believe that Tesla is going to produce 92,000 Model Ys in the US in Q2, then configurator prices are actually just net 1,000 lower because on 4.1 they increased by 1,000 and now they decreased by 2,000. Okay. Now they removed the inventory discounts across a days of inventory, 26 days conservatively at 3,000 per vehicle. They have about 75 production days per quarter. Ran inventory discounts for 6 quarters in a row. So it's not like it was a one-time thing. Tesla presents a similar or same inventory vehicle when someone tries to configure a new vehicle. The math says this is a net 31 million increase in ASP. Don't get fooled by Amherst, and you put the math below. Can you explain all this?
Yeah. So if we go up by point, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to take one region and break it down, which is the U.S. Tesla basically sells a third of its vehicles in each major region: U.S., Europe, and China. And I went through one of the top analysts in terms of counting and predicting the number of vehicles that will ship in a quarter, and they are predicting 92,000 Model Ys in Q2 of this year. So I didn't just pull that number out of the air. That was from an analyst prediction that counts cars, and it's in the Tesla community. So I grabbed that number, said, okay, you're going to build 92,000 Model Ys. And then we looked at what happened, what's going on with the configurator. They increased it by 1,000. We're looking at just at Q2, because we're in Q2 now. Okay. I know they increased prices again in March too, but then they decreased in February for that. Just net it all out. We're in Q2 on 4.1. They increased prices by 1,000, and then over the weekend they decreased them by 2,000. So just take that to the bank. Got it. You go to the next one. Okay, this is where you need a little bit of understanding of supply chain and inventory, and I'll try to explain this very succinctly. DOI is days of inventory, so basically you look at the production run rate of a particular product line or the entire company and their total auto line. And you understand how many, if you look at a quarter, it's roughly 90 days in a quarter. Some are 88, some are 91, but it's roughly 90 days in a quarter. Companies that produce consumer goods cannot use all 90 days in a quarter to produce product and receive revenue on it. Tesla, if they build a car on 3/30, they're not guaranteed to get that sold into, in the Midwest or the East Coast if you ordered one. So what is normally assumed is 75 production days inside of a given region. So in the U.S., if they produce a car, within those 75 days, they have a very good shot at getting it to its end point of distribution and recognizing revenue. So 75 production days in a quarter. It is estimated now that Tesla, when Tesla added 30-some thousand vehicles to inventory in the last quarter, because of the supply timing issues that occurred and maybe some pockets of demand, when they added that, there's an estimate that Tesla's days of inventory went up anywhere from 15 to 26 or 28 days. Okay, so what you basically have to do is you say, all right, then there's 28 days of inventory available, and those cars, and I conservatively use a $3,000 inventory discount on vehicles. Some of those are up at $4,000 and $5,000. Some people had $6,000. Some people were messaging me saying, "Hey, look, if I picked up my car on 330. If I would have picked up the same vehicle today, it would be $3,000 more." So the inventory discounts were significant. I picked 3K. If you're very conservative. And by the way, this inventory discount thing, this isn't like a one-time thing. Tesla ran it for 6 quarters in a row. So anyway, and then Tesla presents an inventory vehicle when you're trying to configure a new one. So using that math of, you know, them having that much, you know, in transit or that could convert to inventory. And again, could that number float down to 20? Could it float up to 28? Sure, but you have to pick an assumption and go. So you go to the next view, and I think I go through the math in the next couple of tweets that support it.
I don't have those. I don't have your math.
Oh, yeah. So basically, what you do with the math is you look at the MSRP discounts times basically 2/3 of the volume in the quarter. Because remember, you have 75 production days, roughly 26 of them are inventory. The rest are, you know, non-inventory. So if you operate under that assumption, 2/3 of the production will run under the MSRP reduction, and about 1/3 of the production has the opportunity to have the prior inventory discounts of roughly, you know, $3,000. Again, that was conservative. You could easily kick it up to $4,000 or $5,000. And so when you run the math on that and you multiply the volumes across that, Tesla actually, their net average selling price is up $31 million. If you kick the inventory discount up to $4,000, it would be $62 million. The point is this is it's the kind of the higher order bid here is taking the inventory discounts off and then taking the MSRP, you know, the puts and takes. It's basically a wash, if not net positive. So Tesla is basically streamlining their sell-in process, so there's not multiple points of discounts and so forth. They're just like, here's the selling price of the vehicle, you buy it for this price. And all the other stuff between MSRP and ASP, they're trying to clean out. And it looks like Europe and China look the same. Now, as they clean up their inventory and they reduce their inventory, then configurator discounts could have more of an impact. But in general, and I have the graphs in this deck. In general, there is kind of a trend of what Tesla's been doing over the last year, which is January through April. I don't know if we have this, the pull, if we go to the graph. Yeah, perfect. This is from, I mean, Gary supplied this graph. If you look at the top of the orange line, and by the way, this is the wrong way to look at COGS, which is the blue line, but we'll look at it anyway. This is probably the right way to look at pricing, which is ASP, average selling price, not MSRP. And I circled the point in yellow. And it's a little bit of a messy chart, but if you look at the center axis, and if you look, basically since the trough, the minus 17.5 is basically at the end of Q1 last year. That was the January to April major price cuts. Actually, it flowed into Q2. That's basically the trough of 2023 2Q. And if you look, there's basically only been a net 1.2% change in average selling price of the car. What is Tesla shown in COGS? This data point, I challenge this data point a little bit, but if you look at the minus 4.8 to 8.5, that was the big jump that happened last year between 2023 Q3 and Q4. I mean, Tesla has basically been aligning COGS and ASP change. That's what look at the slope, look at the two, and look at the relative slope. They've aligned. So the point of Gary, we keep talking past each other. Tesla did a price correction from the peak of the orange line, so, you know, and then all the way down to that was the correction for COVID. All the input pricing went up, all the commodities went up, so all the automakers had to jack their prices up, including Tesla, and supply was down, even for Tesla. That's when everybody jacked their prices up. And then when supply demand came in equilibrium, everybody has to is to bring their prices down. Now, they got supply demand equilibrium a year or year and a half after Tesla did. Okay, so Tesla had to make this trough first. They're going to have to come down. They have been coming down pretty rapidly. If you've seen what they're doing with their price reductions, and we saw with that graph earlier. So the point here is, for the last basically year, since May of last year, Tesla has aligned their COGS reductions and their pricing, which is what you would kind of want as an analyst, and get, until the economy improves.
Yeah. I mean,
Macaroni or cheese?
Don't you mean macaroni and cheese?
No.
No?
No.
Limited to cashback or points? Leave limits behind with cashback and points and savings all in one program.
Obviously Gary's reply to you earlier was, you're looking backwards. Investors are expecting the same thing to happen as in 2023, right? Tesla removed inventory discounts, then cut the configure prices. Then when production got ahead of orders, they added back the inventory discounts at the lower configure prices. They've trained consumers to wait for more inventory discounts. Then you said, well, then you just walk through everything. You're explaining to them, what are you talking about?
I'm just basically saying in point one, you can't expect to sell Model 3s and Ys for $55,000 to $85,000 and think they're going to sell. Tesla had to do that price correction January to April. That's for COVID. They had to do that. And then since the second half of 2023, once they upgraded their factories, they've basically been aligned with COGS, their pricing reductions. Your graph showed it. That's the graph we just went through.
And this one here, I mean, they raised the prices and then they just lowered it back to what it was before. So this whole idea that, why are you cutting the...
Looking for a different parking spot. Too many traffic at the parking lot. No need to worry.
It's just, these are people that are looking at, they were frothing at the mouth of the high margins and were thinking that these 30% could have lasted forever.
And just really quickly, Herbert, on point three, he's asking like, well, why are the analyst estimates down this year, quarter to date? I'm like, well, units are down 20%. That's
a nice move. turn is way nicer. Seemed like it improved today. It improved a lot. So guys, all my drive has been really good. No disengagement unless I'm changing my navigation or going somewhere else to park my car. That's about it. Driving from point A to point B in a situation where there's a road that is well marked, no narrow road that is needed to be in a position where you gotta time the other person coming in and coming out, give the right of way, or you know, hand signal or honk or something like that. FSD does very well in the case of a situation like just driving in general. See that turn? That was a nice turn. Where it went on a yellow, this car oncoming, still going through a yellow light. It wait until it's safe, and then it go. Let's see if it slowed down in